I don't know why I'm having this conversation right now, Oscar. This is giving me a heart rate.
There's a force in all of us that science knows nothing about, the force of fear.
Welcome, everyone, to Induced Fear. I'm your host, Oscar, and with me, I have Karim from the Lost in the Desert podcast. How's it going, man?
How's it going, Oscar? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. It's funny that I got you on the show before Esam, because Esam's your co-host.
Right. And I know you guys know each other. That's how I guess I got to know you and your show.
Yeah. I've known him since like middle school.
He's always been a dickhead?
Yeah. When we first started talking, I was like just chilling, waiting for class to start by myself. And he came up, walking up immediately, and like, "Why are you chilling on the corner like you're some type of prostitute?"
Sounds like him.
Yeah,
Sounds
I was like,
him.
all right. Ever since then, good friends.
All right. Well, I'm glad.
Yeah. But why don't you let everybody know like about your guys' show? What you guys talk about?
So Sam and I started our show back in March. It's crazy it has been so long. We're 20 episodes in. So Lost in the Desert is essentially Sam and I have sort of fused our interests, right? I'm a huge sports person, huge tech person. Assam is definitely more entertainment, movies, pop culture. Like he definitely is into sports heavy. I call him a casual fan. If he wants to defend himself, he can get on here, but that's not my problem. It sounds like
Oh,
a
he
him
never
problem.
would. He's too
Scaredy
he's not a
cat.
fan of this stuff.
Yeah, he's a little scaredy cat, but he's a little scaredy cat. That's all right. But no, so we've sort of fused those interests, and then we also like to talk shit, and I feel like we had a good vibe. It started where I wanted to reach out to him because he is a boxing instructor for Onyx. And
Yeah.
I wanted to reach out to him to help me with a personal project. Initially, it was supposed to be a workout journey for me, right? And I was supposed to have him on there. So I set everything up. And first thing I asked him, like, yo, Assam, how about we do X, Y, and Z? And he was like, no, fuck that. We should just do a podcast together. And I sort of like, next thing you know, I'm like, buying equipment and laptops. And I'm like, oh, I guess we're doing a podcast together. 2 weeks later, we recorded our first episode.
Yeah. I remember when he first sent it to me, he's like, I'm starting a podcast now. Me and my buddy, and then he was like, you just let me know how it sounds in the first go. And I was like, immediately, you guys got like good chemistry that just bounces off of each other, especially when you guys are like arguing about something. That just makes it so much more entertaining.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little exhausting with him sometimes, but try to rein him in. But he's good people. At least he does. The one thing I do like, and what we agreed on, why it would work between us, is because we're definitely different people, right? That much, is for sure. But the way we handle each other, we're not in each other's business. We're not oversensitive. Like we can have a conversation, disagree, and then go get dinner afterwards. In a sort of a time and generation where if you guys don't agree on like 95% of the things, you guys can't be friends.
Yeah.
And it's a very stressful time to like, how can anybody make friends? Like as soon as, have you noticed, like you try to meet new people and it's like one disagreement, and next thing you can't be friends. And I think that's kind of what works between me and Assam is like we are different people, and it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Like we're still going to hang out together. We're still going to do all that nonsense. So yeah, that's kind of why we think it works, or I think it works.
Yeah, I think from what I see in your guys's posts, they do pretty well, especially on TikTok when they catch steam sometimes and you get people going off in the comments.
I appreciate that. We're definitely still in the beginning stages though. Like,
Yeah.
Next goal, we hit the triple digit followers and we move on. Again, we're only 20 episodes in. Like episode 20 came out yesterday.
Yeah. I was just listening to that today. So
was it technically this morning?
Yeah. But you ended up messaging me about a story that you came across on TikTok.
So I saw this. So I saw the story on TikTok, and I was like, I looked through it. It was one of those, 5-parters where they go through all the parts. And as by the time I was done with it, I said, "Nah, got to talk to Oscar about this." And you're actually because when I was like scrolling through it, as I was done, I went into. I saw a message me. I went to just do something for the podcast on the TikTok, and you're on our For You page, and your Induced Fear popped up, and that was when my brain clicked. I was like, "Yo, gotta ask Oscar because it's gonna be a dope conversation." I said because my brain is too logical for that. It doesn't work. Like, I'm not really religious, not really spiritual, definitely not atheist. I feel like that's, the other side of the arrogance coin. But,
Yeah.
when I saw it, I said, "Man, there's definitely some things that probably need to be explained, or probably just some cool, like, Easter eggs in there in those videos." And then obviously my cynical, logical brain is probably just gonna have my own my own reaction, but I was like, "Man, this is freaky as shit."
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially from the videos you sent, they were like those classic grainy type of like clips from
Right, like,
something.
I think it was the body cam footage for the was it 7 soldiers in the
Yeah,
video?
Seven Soldiers.
7.
Yeah,
And for you guys who don't know, it's Liam. Oh my god, I literally forgot his name.
Liam Collins.
Liam Collins, there you go. It was on TikTok, it's called, like, The Story of Liam Collins. So if you guys wanna
Yeah,
go look for that, it's, like, 5 parts. Um, you wanna do the intro of the story, 'cause, the breakdown?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, the like the bare minimum of the story is it says that Liam Collins went missing along with the military unit consisting of 7 soldiers in the Registan desert, and it
Okay,
became a mystery. So it was him and 7 others.
gotcha. Him and 7 others.
Yeah,
So and you watch the story, right?
yeah,
They tell you first thing happens, right? First part, they tell you, oh, Liam and his troop, or whatever the term is, their car got disabled, right? And their car got
yeah,
disabled, just randomly stopped for no reason. It was like what 3 in the morning or something. It was like 2, 3 in the morning, something like that. They're like 14 miles away from base. The car just stops, and
yeah.
then they're
Immediate
like,
electrical problems
right, and
from the
then they
get
said
go.
afterwards, like, "Oh, all timekeeping equipment is done." And first thing
Yeah,
my brain goes, "Oh, EMP attack."
yeah,
Right? Like, fried all the circuits and everything, and then they tell you, like, "Oh, a lot of these vehicles have, like, protection against it, yada, yada." Well, I don't know. But that was the first thing my mind went to. I said, "Cool, EMP." And then I was like, "What the hell are they doing at 3 in the morning anyways? Is it like a regular scheduled, like, patrol? Like, what happens here?" So that was the first thing that was like, "Okay, weird." Secondly, the part that I thought was weird is like, why'd they abandon their vehicle? Isn't that kind of like a no-no? Isn't that you kind of sit
yeah,
where your vehicle is and you wait for help? Like these people walked, abandoned their vehicle and walked for what is, what is, what's the word? Not assumed. What is implied in the clips, like miles, right? To
yeah.
go to show up to this and this random village shows up in the middle. Also kind of like freaky. I was like, this is already sketch.
Like straight into a horror movie.
Yeah.
They step away
And
from their vehicles, go into the shady looking little village. Um, they don't they see symbols around? They also see like symbols and weird writings on things, I
yeah,
believe.
well, that goes, deeper in. So, again, when we get to that part of the video, first thing I'm like, "Okay, they're gonna get ambushed." I'm just waiting for I said, "This is gonna be some sorta ambush, right? Somebody's gonna kidnap them, right? Some unknown for" I'm like, "Okay, cool." Nothing happens. This village is dead in the middle of nowhere. Not a single person, just and you see what were those symbols? Were they crosses? I think I saw a few crosses, a bunch of random symbols. That's
Yeah, it
kinda
was like
like
a whole bunch of mixture of like different religious symbols and then
yeah,
like
medals and stuff just, like, hanging
yeah,
on, like, windows and doors and, patios and stuff. So, then I'm just like, "Okay, weird." And what got really, scary like, again, further sketch, you get into
yeah,
it starts they're telling you, like, "Oh, the troop members just start to, like, freeze and stare at stare at those symbols." Like, a couple of them, like, slowly, they all get, like, infatuated with it. They're
yeah,
infatuated with the artifacts, just staring at them. And I was like, "Oof, okay. Like, shit's about to go down." If it's already gone down, I said, "This is already a downhill. This is just downhill, and it keeps getting, faster and faster." So I don't
yeah,
know what the hell these people are doing. And for somebody like me, like for me to start thinking this, I didn't even go to like, oh my god, bullshit, cap. I didn't do any of that. I
yeah,
was just like, ooh, oh, someone's in trouble.
yeah.
So then immediately I'm like, what are these symbols? Right? What are these symbols? Is this something common that people have possessed symbols, or possessed artifacts
Well, there
in the
are
supernatural world?
yeah, there are possessed like you can as in curses. Like curses go back so far within ancient times. So you can use symbols for curses. And from what I see, also it says that where they were at was 20 miles away from their base, and it says they stepped into like an ancient city, so it could have been
Abandoned
the
town. They didn't
ruins
even say
of,
abandoned town. They said that I think it was just like an abandoned town.
yeah, from where it was, from where everything was found apparently was like some ancient part that was just run down, became this rundown town after a while. Um, and the thing that I always take away from things that are older, not so much like a modern city, kind of like where I'm at, Denver. We're not going to find ancient symbols here, but in a place where it's just a vast desert, where it has all this history attached to it, you're going to find all these symbols. And I think maybe the difference in the symbols could be from the people who were trapped there. Like if somebody was a Christian, they're going to hang up a cross somewhere if they don't feel safe in that area,
Like, how many people had to have died there, and then just there's
especially if they're
no
all going missing.
yeah, if they're all going missing, but do you tell me a whole town just, like, disappeared? Or a whole town I was kinda wanting to go do this chronologically and then get to the end, but I feel like my question long story short, guys, government claims they never find the town, right?
Yeah.
Long story short, government claims they never find the town. Slowly and surely, they all get infatuated. I thought the troop leader's decision to, like, split up was kind of a bad decision, like, why would you do that? Isn't that, like, search and rescue 101? Don't split up,
Yeah. Well,
like, stay in one big
also
group.
right from the get-go, they left the vehicles and just
Like,
started
let the
wandering
vehicle
into,
red flag,
yeah.
telling them to split up, not even in 2 groups, like, 3 it was like 3 small groups. Like,
Mhm.
what are you guys doing?
Almost everybody out on their own, like,
Yeah, almost everybody out on their own. The footage was, like, not grainy enough, but there were gaps. The gaps is what made me question, I'm like, "Did something supernatural sketch happen, or just we talking about military cover up?" That's, kinda where my brain is at right now.
yeah.
But, again, like, then they're like, "Oh, they never find the town?" What the fuck's going on here? Like,
Yeah.
does this whole town just, like, appeared and disappeared? Did there I don't know, Oscar, you gotta help me out, man. My brain was just going in, like, miles. I don't know.
Well, assuming this would be real, right? Assuming
Okay,
it's not like a creepy pasta or
a hoax.
anything like that, because people can do short films every on anything now. But assuming it's real, it could be the fact that it is like probably this cursed land. Maybe something terrible has happened in this land because we do have these what we call in hauntings residual hauntings,
Okay.
which means that so much energy was put into a place that it's almost like a tape recording. It captured that energy in that spot for only a specific amount of time, and once that time ends, it's gone. And I
Damn.
don't know if you've ever heard of residual
No,
hauntings.
I have not. Um, Muslims don't like to talk about spooky things a lot. It's one
Yeah.
of the things they like to keep to themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, but they
But,
have those like that. So like simple things would be, in some hauntings there is the sound of a gunshot on a certain day at a certain time, and it will replay it because it was such a traumatic thing. It kind of stamped it within that location. So it could be something like that to where they just stepped into this area that had so much energy, and once that time was up, when that place disappeared, they disappeared along with it.
right.
Almost like a there's also time slips and things like that.
I find it so fascinating. Like, when I looked at the comments, and you can look at this. I think we watched the same videos. There's not that many
Yeah.
videos of the Liam Collins situation, like not many variations. But the one thing I know, so I call them the haram squad, right? So haram is something that's forbidden or a sin, and the haram squad is kind of like they kind of make fun of people who go on social media and blast. It's kind of like a community, like a Muslim community thing. Like, if you go on social media and you're sitting here like commenting and criticizing on everything that's like, sinful. So they
Uh-huh.
call them the Haram Squad. Right. So as soon as I saw that, told us, I said, man, the Haram Squad was all over them comments. It was just comments saying jinn, 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 jinn. And jinn is the Muslim version of like a demon or
Yeah.
un, unholy spirit. So as soon as I saw
That's
that, I was
the
laughing,
that's
man.
the
I was
one
like,
thing Esam told me about when I used to live in Arizona. That's the one thing he ever brought up was gin,
yeah, I was
and
just
he
like,
was,
actually, Oscar, they used to think our house was haunted. So we used
"Oh,
to live.
really?"
Oh, and everybody won't shut up about it. Right. And this is where I sort of went at it with my mom about this. So we lived on, if there are any Sudanese people watching, on Street 21 in Amar, next to the airport. And there's this yellow house on the corner, and it's literally a whole block, right, for the outside. And inside the house, apparently this house was abandoned, right? Nobody had lived there. So we came in and rented it for a period of like maybe what, I was like 8 till at least 17. So almost 10 years that we had lived in this house. And it was just overrun with trees, like completely, complete mess. Came in, we fixed it up. Apparently people claim to be, hearing things. People like avoided this house. The reason it was left for this long is because nobody wanted to live here. Um, it was just a whole it was a whole mess. My mother told me, and this is where it kind of fucked up, right? Firstly, Jin apparently you're not. They for some they're not. They like trees for some reason. Like don't sit
Uh,
under a tree at night. Like the Jin like it. I don't know why, but hey, it is what it is. But my mother told me that um, my bedroom was the roof of the house, right? So it was just a room with a bathroom, and then you go outside. It's the balcony slash roof at the same time,
Almost
right?
like the attic.
No, not like the attic.
No?
Everything is
Oh,
concrete.
okay.
So it had like huge windows, right? Huge surround like windows that you could see, and basically the walls were just like big windows. Um, Very creepy, not gonna lie. I never felt comfortable in that house. I always thought, like, again, not spiritual person, but I always thought is because I'm like, I was like, maybe I was just a coward as a teenager, like whatever. Right. And it's just you're
Yeah,
looking at the moonlight, you're seeing everything's shadow against like through at the on your curtains, and it's like super creepy. It's like a movie,
yeah,
right? Very creepy. Kind of like that scene in Beetlejuice. But it's just very I was like, man, my parents used to think, because I'm epileptic, there was a point where one of the theories is that they left because I was up there, that was my room. That was my that's why I started having like seizures and becoming epileptic, like after I had moved
mm,
up there. And I had been up there for, maybe a year or two before. So not really, but they thought, oh, it's, you're possessed.
yeah.
You hear that noise, by the way?
What is it?
I just want to make sure. I guess I live in a, HOA, so somebody's out there doing some sort of yard work.
Oh, no.
Okay, I was just making sure you can't hear it.
Yeah, no, I was like, "What do you do when you hear you're talking about it, so now you're gonna hear, like, knocking around?"
Start hearing random shit.
Yeah,
But that was one of the theories. Used to say this house was haunted. Everybody had their theories of what they saw and what they heard, and what went down here. And one of the theory, again, another theory is that everybody's mood changed for the worse when we moved into this house, and as soon as we
mm,
left, everybody got better. People were more violent. Like all of us were more. The claims were like, our personalities were just like the worst. We were more violent, more so, like all of that stuff. But I was like, I don't get it. I'm very cynical, Oscar. You know me. I just think human beings are scum. But that's kind of it. I feel like we're inherently
yeah,
terrible people, and we're just trying to better ourselves. Try to bury it. But
yeah.
it's very interesting. We have these associations with jinn and stuff. Like, how do you feel about that? I don't have anybody to, between like the spirits and people's illnesses and mood. Is that a thing that can happen?
Well, yeah, they have the word not possession, but oppression. So if you've watched, like, any of the Conjuring movies, shit like that, they will
I only
bring
just
up that
recently
word.
watched.
Yeah, they'll bring up that word a lot. So it's oppression, which means, like, the step before possession, and it's just basically giving you those negative feelings, like you're just weighed down by negativity that it's affecting you and drawing you more into that darker path, which will then lead into possession.
Okay. It's just, yeah, it's weird that during that time of my life, people would try to justify people try to justify my epilepsy in the weirdest ways.
Yeah.
I think I had my first seizure at, like, 15,
Oh
right?
damn.
And it's not that deep. I feel
Yeah.
you supposed to feel more bad for the people, but I remember we have a the people watching, I feel like it's more worse for y'all, worse for them, like,
Yeah.
during
Oh yeah.
it's probably scary as
Yeah.
shit. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. I had another friend who had epilepsy, and she would be fine anytime that like I either saw her at school or hung out. And other than
She
that, she good. Everything else was good.
she'd be exhausted
Yeah.
afterwards. You got that 45-minute window where everything is fine, and after that, you get everything. You get the headaches, the light sensitivity. But anyway, no, enough not talking about that, but, um, to the whole Liam Collins thing, so do you think before they disappeared, they entered that oppression stage that was changing their mood and making them make bad decisions?
Well, yeah, I think immediately from the beginning of their vehicles being hit and kind of throwing everything out of whack for them to
Mhm.
immediately they can't rely on their technology or their vehicle anymore. Now it's just about like their mind. They only have to focus on how they would react in a situation. No help from anything else. I think that already puts a damper on the way that you're gonna be in that situation. Um, so right off that, their stuff could have been hit with an EMP, but then they were hit with something else that draws them further into. Because why are they gonna wander and
Yeah.
keep going into the desert? Like, what's drawing them
I would've
towards?
from the if you saw that video, it shows that there's, like, why didn't you just follow the road back to where
Yeah,
you came from or to where you were going? I assume you knew, and I assume it was following that one dirt road. Like, we know how roads in the desert are. You can see, like, it may not be a paved road, but you can see a clear path that you can follow. So, I
yeah,
just don't understand why they didn't continue to follow that, or if it's really that dark, just stay put. It's not that deep.
yeah.
And
No, no. That would be anybody who looks out from the outside of the situation be like, just stay. But something definitely probably would have happened to them in order for them to be drawn out into the middle of nowhere, basically. Like, like they could have felt something, um, heard something within their own ears that probably didn't pick up on camera. Um, there's all kinds of reasons why. Like for some reason, you ever feel drawn to something? Do you ever have that feeling of
what do you mean drawn to something?
like like if you're ever just driving around and you're like, oh, I should turn down this way. I should go this way. I should talk to this person today. I should
Mm.
like there's something in the back of your mind telling you to do something for.
I guess I have. I'm trying to think of, like, what's the situation, like, was I just there are times I was trying to think, like, times where I was drawn and it didn't make logical sense, like, why I was drawn to something.
Yeah.
But
Like you
there's
never you never
sometimes, like,
texted a
I've been
friend,
mhm,
like just all of a sudden you're like, I should really call or
do this.
text this person.
Yeah, I had that today, actually.
Yeah.
I was driving past my own I was, running some, I called out of sick work today. I was sick as hell, but somewhere around, like, late afternoon, I felt I was starting to feel better, and I was like, "I have to finish this errand." So, went to finish it, and then I drove past the old house that I was living in with the roommates that I had, and we were kind of close, and some of them were, not very healthy. They were just going through some stuff, and for some weird reason, like no matter what I did, I drove past, and then I just kept running those errands, whatever, and they just stayed at the back of my mind until eventually, like I just went. I was like, fine, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna randomly knock in, right? And then somebody said something where it's like, oh, we were waiting. Like one of the persons, like, oh, we were waiting for you. I said, the fuck you mean you were waiting for me? I say weird, but that's really I've had other situations where I've been like in places and I've when you're in like creepy places and you're supposed to be scared, but
Mm.
I get angry. Like when I'm in like the dark or unsettling situations, like I get angry over scared. So
Is it
it's
because you just don't wanna be in that situation? Like, you don't wanna feel that type of, you don't wanna feel scared
I
of
don't know.
something because you said you're a logical thinker, so you're like, "There's nothing for me to be scared of. Why am I
I guess
creeped
the
out?"
fear of the unknown.
Okay.
People are afraid of what they don't know. That's
Yeah.
true. I'm afraid. I sometimes get scared of. It's not that I'm not sitting here telling you like I don't get scared. Absolutely not. I
Yeah.
do. Only human. But there's sometimes like if I'm in like creepy places. Like I was a very angry kid in that room up there. Like I was a terrible child in that room
Yeah.
in that house. And then we moved houses, and then everybody's attitude changed, like kind of for the better. So
Yeah.
stuff like that is weird. You know, I feel like it's strange when the whole neighborhood is, like, collectively against against the place, like, I think the house is still there and nobody's living in it.
Huh. Yeah, it could
Like,
be
to this very
something.
day, like, last time I talked to my mom, I think the house is still there and nobody's living in it.
Yeah, it
Because I
could
know in
be something
2019
that's actually there, or or the fact that so many people believe it's such a negative place that
it
they're all just kind
creates
of putting
negative
that.
it
Yeah,
creates negativity.
yeah, but yeah, that could have been what drew them into the into that area further, especially if it's something that is just popping up with a crazy amount of like energy, or people like to say a high vibrational place, right?
So what are the is are there, like, because again, Islam, we have jinn, Christians have demons, like, what other religions, like, what are the equivalent in other religions, do you know? Because I don't fucking know.
I
I don't
think
know if Judaism has, like, their equivalent of demons.
yeah, it's just demons. It's the same thing.
Man, these 3 religions are lazy. They just copy paste off of each other.
Yeah, I think demons is like a blanket term for like
Yeah,
anything bad. Um, but yeah, they have like all kinds of. I think even in Japan, they're labeled as like demons. Like when you translate it, it just translates to the same
the demon.
thing, demon.
It does the same. It kinda makes you wonder, like, oh, all these different religions around the world have this one common thing
Yeah,
that they're afraid of. But
anything dark.
is it that common thing because it exists, or is that common thing because of a fear of human beings? Human beings just have sort of this their own way of rationalizing
Yeah, yeah.
unknown,
I think the only time where you can like really say something is actually a demon or some type of spirit or
demonic, yeah.
whatever is when you can't really explain it away in any way. Like you, I mean, that's what I do. Is even though I'm in this world, I will try to explain it away with every logical thought. And if I can't, then I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe, maybe ghost. Who knows?
Spooky ghost, who knows?
Yeah. But I mean, there's a bunch of theories that could have happened when it came down to Liam Collins and the rest of the soldiers there. It could be a little pocket in time. I mean, there's all kinds of time slip stories from people of
Where would
them
they
just
go?
slipping into a different time.
Where would you go, though? Wouldn't you leave clues? Like, if you went back, do you go forward? Do you go
You
other
can go back,
dimension?
forward. I don't know.
Do you go other dimension? Like, what are some of the people's theories? As
Yeah, I
if
mean,
if I went backward, I know the first thing I'm doing is I'm leaving hella clues. I'm writing all of this down, I'm putting this in a box and making sure somebody gets it,
yeah.
like, in the future, if I
Do
flip
you think
back.
the first initial thing would be freak out though?
Oh, yeah, you'd lose your mind. You'd absolutely lose your mind. First
Well,
thing you'd
especially
lose
if
your
they're
mind, probably
going,
go into denial.
yeah, but especially if they're going back into like ancient city there in
Oh,
the
yeah,
middle
there's
of the
true.
desert. They're complete outcasts within there. you know?
They're completely screwed. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the first one to die, right? Because 'Cause I'm not gonna know any of the customs, and I'm gonna insult somebody.
Yeah,
And, my
exactly. I
black
mean,
ass, I just have to pray it's a city somewhere in Africa, 'cause my black ass is 100% not going to make it in another city. But, it definitely is. I would maybe think, like, alternate dimension, maybe swallowed up, quicker. Not what's the sorry, enter the afterlife too soon. I've heard
yeah,
theories like some people, there some people believe in portals to the afterlife that are too soon. I guess that's how, demons and stuff get in, demons and ghosts and stuff like get in. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, there are countless different explanations when it comes down to portals and different dimensions. Like, it could be just another world living parallel with ours. It can be a demon's dimension, an area where the jinn dwell on their own.
See,
Like,
this is why I tried to convince Assam to get in because he definitely knows more about jinn than I do.
oh yeah, that's how
For
I
somebody
knew
who's
about the
afraid, for
jinn.
somebody who's afraid of something, definitely knows a lot about it. Take your time to research it and how they
Okay.
roll. But
They basically live and die like us. There are spiritual creatures from what I've learned by studying on my own, but they also live and die as we do. Um, they're just in a different plane than us.
plane of existence.
Yeah,
My logical brain first thing thought, after all that, I just thought maybe it's just a government cover up. Maybe they don't want to tell you where the town is. They don't want
yeah,
people to get evidence. Maybe no government likes to admit that they've been beaten by more than the U.S. Let's be frank. The U.S. can lose the smallest game of chess, and they will nuke the entire hall. They'll
yeah,
be like, "This never happened. We never lost this game."
yeah, and they will lose and come out high fiving each other like they won.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised if, like, it was a nice little ambush, right? Those soldiers, may they rest in peace, got duppied, got taken out, and the US is like, "We're not gonna admit any of this."
yeah,
Also 2004, it was 2004, what was going on
yeah,
over there? Peak elections, all that Gulf stuff, like, if there's any time you don't want the US to lose any sort of battle, right? Small or big. It was probably in 2004 because from the time frame, it was before all the elections. It was peak
yeah,
pre-election stuff. So if you're gonna make anything disappear, it'll probably be around 2004,
yeah,
especially when that administration sort of used the war as justification for everything as like leverage for the American people. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, you know what, we can't lose a single soldier until voting time comes, right?
yeah.
We have to maintain that we've won every single battle and we're not losing a single thing.
Have you, speaking of this story, with dealing with soldiers, military, and basically, I think in the end, we really don't have a 100% logical conclusion because they gave no conclusion to it.
Right.
Um, I think I would think the same as you, honestly. Though, is that something
Well, there's some sort
actually
of like
actually happened to them, not anything like mystical or anything like that. Um, and they're just trying to cover it up because there are other stories. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Battle of Kandahar, where
no,
soldiers actually got into a fight with a giant.
with a giant,
Yeah, a red-haired giant.
a red-haired
Um,
giant.
yeah,
Isn't that
and this took.
how tall are we? How giant are we talking here? We're talking like
It's
NBA player because that could be Brian Scalabrine. He's like 6'6",
no,
ginger.
they're talking they're talking a giant that is biblical in its sense, Nephilim quality.
Okay.
So
So
um,
what happened? Who
well,
won? I assume us.
they apparently killed it. A couple of soldiers did get hurt.
I imagine so.
Um, I'm actually gonna find a image of it so you can see. Uh, it's like this big story, and it was the story of a red-haired giant that came out and fought American soldiers. Um, and they ended up killing this red-haired giant.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild story. I mean, there's all kinds of weird stuff that comes from, you know, the the military anyways, whether they see lights in the sky or some
Yeah.
shit.
I was saw that that UFO episode you posted that I
Yeah.
was in accidentally.
Yeah, sorry.
You guys no,
But
sorry. It was actually kinda nice. To you guys who were watching, like, I was in that, Oscar's, like, more one of the more recent episodes that he posted about the
yeah.
UFOs. I was just scrolling through Instagram, and I was like, "Hey, let me just hop in here out of curiosity," and I didn't even know we're being recorded, so oh, shit. That's one hell of a
So this is like just a depiction of what happened in this story. Um
yeah, they definitely got him with with the ARs.
yeah, yeah. So they just it's just this weird story of a giant humanoid, basically a giant human. Um this actually happened before the Liam Collins story, probably a year before. This was
Okay.
2002
Alright, so
in
we have a time
Afghanistan.
period of sketchy shit was happening.
Yeah. So that took place in Afghanistan, and it was again a group of soldiers encountering something weird. Apparently, they killed it, and nobody's seen the body. But always describe it as a tall being
Ginger,
with red hair.
because gingers have no souls.
Yeah.
Wait, is that true? I was just quoting South Park.
I don't know if it's true. I gotta get a ginger on the show and ask them.
Now, how are we gonna do that, Oscar? This is something we cannot really experiment on. Like, what are we're gonna, like, what? Well, let's choke him for a couple seconds and see if he tells us, like, "Did you go
Yeah.
somewhere? Was it purgatory? What was on the other side, my guy?" But, no. You know what's funny? I was actually watching, so I just started, like, binging the Lucifer on Netflix, right?
Okay.
And I'm in, like, the 2nd season, like, now, so heavy binge. But I got to a point where they were talking about, Azrael's sword, and in the hands of humans, it just, like, commands people to do its bidding. And as we're talking this conversation, like, so when you said, like, "Oh, oppression," I was thinking, like, maybe those artifacts that they were staring at were, like, similar, and obviously not, the same as a TV show, but
Yeah.
just the concept of oppression and how far does it really go? Like, what is it how far does the oppression go? And then how do we say, like, we really know what, these creatures, really want, or, like, these spirits really want?
Yeah. Depending on what type of spirit it is, because I think when
Oh,
it
wait, so
comes
they're
down to it,
types?
well, I mean, like, say if it's a jinn or if it's a demon, like we don't know what spirit it is. Because I tend to believe that the reason why they always have these stories of people being possessed by demons is because I think that demons are like the souls of the Nephilim,
Mhm.
and that's why they want a human body so bad because they did have a physical form.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, so that's why they tend to go and possess people. Um,
That's fucked up.
yeah, wild. That's even if that's true. That's just a theory of mine, but uh,
And then the age old theory of the epileptics were the process of your soul being possessed. So kind of like the oppression thing, they're like, oh, before you're actually possessed is when, they're trying to reach into your soul, and that's why you have seizures.
yeah,
And
it's like you're fighting back.
you're fighting back, and I'm like, okay, I guess. What does the flashing lights and the stress and all of that stuff have to do with it? Um, I wonder how, how I always sometimes think, like, how many epileptics died in that
Oh,
process.
just because they just started praying
They
over
started, no,
them
not
or
just they
something like
preyed on
that.
them, but they just thought they were, like, possessed.
Yeah,
Like,
Like,
after
immediately
that, they're
scared
like,
and just left
We
him,
have
yeah.
to kill this guy. Like, we're not this guy flopping around here, we have to kill him."
Yeah, just think they thought people were possessed or had were a witch just because they thought for themselves, back then. So
Well, this is part of my skepticism of religion. I'm like, Did you guys really use them for did you guys really use it the way it's intended? Like, it's so easily twisted, right?
yeah.
Somebody to get what they want." I used to say,
Yeah, that's
like, after all out of all the colonizers, which well, the main groups, I have the British, the French, the Spanish, was it the Dutch, the Belgians? Belgians are actually really scummy. I forgot about them. But out of all of those, I used to say like, "Hey, props to the Spanish." Now they did some messed up shit, but they seemed like the only ones who truly believed in what they were doing. They were like, they
yeah.
actually went there and messed stuff up in the name of the Lord. The others just lied. The British wanted tea and spices and all that shit. The French just wanted, minerals and resources. The Belgians, God knows what they wanted. They were just out there to mess things up. But I'll give the Spanish props, man. Out of all the colonizers who went out there, they sound like they were the ones who truly believed in what they were doing. They're
Well,
like, "We
yeah, I
doing it,
mean,
we messing up your life for the Lord, and we believe it." Well, you
but
gotta
then it
respect that.
became but then it became strong. That belief became strong within Mexico.
Yeah,
Like,
like all of South America. Like, look at all the
yeah,
Christian South American like nations,
yeah,
right? Like it's
yeah. It's
just
just
they it's a true belief. Meanwhile, you go all like the British colonies, nobody really believes in what they're talking about over there.
yeah,
America included. Like Americans don't really like they've split up the Bible into 17 different verses, right? Like 17 different versions. Like, come on, man. Like
yeah,
how far does the word go? Even the African colonies that are even the Christian African colonies that by the British, like they don't really it seems like everything's half-ass over there. But you want to talk about like a religious dedication, like the Spanish really did the thing.
y-
Yeah,
yeah.
like
I
yeah, a
mean,
lot of blood was
that's
shed,
why they're
but
still that
yeah.
way. That's why it's still prolific in everywhere that they have touched. So,
Mhm.
uh,
The Italians
but
was
yeah,
not
they're
doing nothing. Italians didn't care about anybody. It's like I would always want to just because I am not spiritual or not um, like religious doesn't mean that I'm not curious. Like
yeah,
I think I've talked about this on our show. Like I have a very scientific-ish mind, and I'm huge respect for the scientific community. But the one thing I admire about them is that you don't shy away from getting new information.
yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm not going to be spiritual. I'm not going to be not spiritual or not religious for the rest of my life. Who knows? 5, 10 years from now, something might happen. I get new information, new experiences, right? And I'm in the middle of my own Liam Collins situation. And
So
something changes. Like,
yeah, I mean, there it takes something like that. I remember I went through the same thing, but like when I was in high school, like what is the real thing? Is it just based on science, or is there this actual like spiritual higher thing above? And I remember going through like Catholicism. Uh, I even I went with Esom one time and just kind of sat there and observed, um, to see if I don't know where I was going to be led to. Um,
observe what the mosque, like prayers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, just be there, and they were very welcoming there.
Oh yeah, Muslims
They,
are always welcoming.
yeah, yeah. It was probably one of the better experiences that I have had going into, just to observe and learn from another religion.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, then eventually I just came down to a point where it was like, I'm not part of any real
group.
religion, um, because I'm always asking questions and trying to find answers to things, and I'll pray on things, and like, what does this mean? What does this have
Well,
to do with anything?
I've told the story like to my friends and stuff and family, and I remember it was like sixth grade or something, and we were in religious class, and I'm like, cool. They were just going over the fundamentals of God and His power. It was like knows all that's currently past, present, and future. Happening, happened,
Yeah,
will happen. So then I just asked, like, what's the point? Then what's the point? What do you
yeah,
do all this for? What are we here for? Like, because it can't be what's written down. If you're
yeah,
telling me he knows everything's going to happen, happening, and happened, like it can't be written down. Then I've been told, "Well, he's doing this for, for us." I'm like, "Why?
Yeah.
Why make us and why go through all of this in the first place? Like, if we don't exist or never have, there would be no pain. No pain, no joy, no, it's just empty." Because I for sure don't remember the, hundreds and tens of years. I don't remember the minutes before I was born, okay? Like, I'm not experiencing it. Like, my soul is just fine. So
Yeah.
I've asked that question and I got cussed out. I didn't get an ass. Well, didn't get an ass woman. I definitely got cussed out. And I was like, and every time I would ask questions, yeah, not all my questions were valid. Sometimes I was just being petty. It is
Uh,
what it is. But
yeah.
for the most part, like if I can't ask questions, you lose me. And it's sort of something like I ask more extreme questions, and at one point, like, yeah, there are people who will start off receptive, right? But eventually, like, as the line of questioning gets thin, it gets to just do what you're told, like, sort of
Yeah.
response, right? And
Yeah.
that's when you lose me.
I remember asking. I remember saying one time when they had said that very same thing to me, where it's like everything is predetermined, basically. Like no matter what happens, it's all predetermined. There's no. And I remember reading in the Bible though. I was like, I remember reading the Bible though. Doesn't that defeat the purpose of like free will?
Doesn't that make the rule a little unfair, the game unfair?
Yeah.
How are you
So
gonna test me when you know my answer? You've already written down whether I get an A, B, C, or D. Like, what am I studying for?
yeah. So I
Right?
always thought that was. I never believed that
You
that
knew
everything was predetermined.
there's a there's a little sort of a I kind of believe not everything is 100% predetermined, but the direction is set, right? And that's just
Yeah.
from a more, I guess, scientific like perspective. All the variables are there. We just sort of have to figure out when the combination is going to hit, kind of like
Yeah.
that. So I definitely don't think everything is 100% predetermined and there's nothing you can do you can change about it. No, but sort of the general course of history and humanity and stuff, like I feel like that is pretty set. You know, I
Yeah.
I know and I know scientists believe this, but nobody will ever say it. But we're on our last leg here on this planet. At least this version of humanity. Like, you look at all the previous civilizations, it's the same. It's the same story,
Yeah.
right? The Aztecs, the Egyptians, shit, the Romans. I don't know what the hell's going on the other side of the world. This all the ancient Chinese civilizations, like, it's all the same thing. You get to your height of your power, greed, control, right? Poor planning, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, there's a reset,
Yep.
right? And I think we're due for a reset. But the problem is there's the more people, the bigger the reset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Like, and I
there's
think
a
it's gonna
lot
be
more people.
it's part of the reason I don't want to have kids, Oscar.
Yeah.
Like, what are we leaving behind? I truly
Yeah.
don't believe there's another 50, 60 years in it for the rest of us. I believe we
Yeah.
got another 20. In my lifetime, I think I will see the collapse of this version of humanity. But everything always comes back, and sometimes comes back stronger. And that's why with every civilization's downfall, we come back stronger.
Yeah.
And
So at
whether
this
that's
point,
prophesized
it's
or
like a write
literacy.
it out.
Exactly. And that's why
Yeah.
I think, like, when we talk about Armageddon, I think sometimes, like, Armageddon is a metaphor for the reset. Religious Armageddon, I feel like, is a metaphor for the reset. Somebody's seen this. There are people who've survived from those previous generations to tell the story, from those previous civilizations to tell the
Yeah.
story. Right. And I think when you get to that point, you're talking about, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, it could just be having the conversation of the previous reset of previous civilizations failings in order to prevent that. And, like, on a religious, spiritual level. So yeah. Our podcast won't be along for long, won't be on for long, Oscar. We don't got much left in us.
I will keep recording even if everything's crumbling down.
You're gonna be
It
like
gives
the
me more
crazy guy
content.
with the microphone that's not attached to
Yeah.
anything and just, like,
Yeah.
covered in ash.
Yeah. I'll just be standing there with a sign. The end is happening now. And then I'll just be holding a microphone talking into it.
You ever wonder what happens on the other side?
Sometimes.
You ever wonder, like, okay, well, hypothetical, I play this game a bit sometimes with myself or with people. Say every single current, like, religion is wrong, right? The ones that are currently out there.
Yeah.
Once we knock out all those scenarios, what really happens on the other side? is it just like a purgatory thing, or is it a pitch black thing? We're assuming in this question that there is some sort of religion. We're not assuming like no, everybody's the atheist one.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever like listened to people who have like near death experiences
Hmm.
or things like that. But a lot of them describe it not even as going to heaven or anything like that. They describe it as just becoming one with the energy like that surrounds us at all times.
So
Like
like a
they just
singularity kind of thing.
yeah, they just become one with this greater energy. And some of them like to describe it as God or anything like that. They just at that point they don't care about anything else. All they feel is a sense of peace and connection to everything.
Well, doesn't energy never disappears, it just changes form,
Yeah.
tell you that 101 science 101, so physics 101. So that could be it. I always wonder, I said, is it just lights out? Is it just lights out? I'm a fan of reincarnation. I'd like to see what other versions we got going on here. Like, not gonna lie, whichever what is it? Is it Hinduism that has the reincarnation? I think it's Hinduism that has the reincarnation in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Buddhism, right? I don't
No,
think
not Buddhism.
Buddhism does. Yeah.
I feel like I'm not too familiar, but I feel like Buddhism would have the version you just described about just being one
Yeah.
with the universe. Sounds kind of up their alley. But yeah, I'm kind of interested in like Hinduism, like in terms of the at least just the reincarnation part. I don't know. I don't want to claim to know the rest.
Yeah.
But I've always wondered, like if everybody's wrong, what variations does that leave us?
Yeah. I think the only way is like when it happens, we see what happens on the other side. Like once
Lights
we're
out.
finally done here, is that and that's why some people keep their faith where they have it, just so that they have a sense of
Purpose.
yeah, or comfort in they'll go somewhere afterwards.
I
Because I
guess.
think most of the time it's comfort
I think most of the time it's fear.
or fear.
I
Yeah.
think Muslims actually tell you like fear God. Muslims are like, no, he's not here to love you. Like fear him.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the
I'm
same.
just
It's the same with Catholics. With Catholicism, it's like the fear of God.
I'm just like, yeesh. But I think scientists typically think it's just an over like as you're dying, your body's just releasing like
Yeah.
flooding your with what's it called hormones. I think it's like serotonin, dopamine, all that. Like apparently your brain is just like as you're dying, your brain is like overloading out of it, right?
See, there are those things where you can
And that's what
describe it, and
white light.
scientists, yeah, and scientists can break it down in that way. But then there are moments where somebody has passed, like on an operating table or whatever, and they they describe everything that they saw in the room while getting operated on. Like if they had an above, like a bird's eye view of it. One person even described wandering around the hospital and finding a lost shoe and telling where this lost shoe was, and there was no way for them to know beforehand. So like there are these
I'd
types
love
of
to
things
talk to
that
somebody like that in the moment, but
yeah.
because I'm always again cynical. I'm just like skeptical of people. I don't like to give people too much trust. Right.
Yeah, I
So
mean
I would love to
that's
speak
how
to somebody like that in the moment, somebody who's not trying to sell me a book. But
yeah, that's how I am.
um,
I don't want to have anything sell, but who knows if you ever have your own like personal experience if something crazy happens that like
I've had moments where I thought I was like genuinely dead. I've had moments where I thought all of this is a hoax. I still to this very day. So I'll tell you what happened. So back in 2018 to 2019, right? It was sort of um, uh, the peak of like my epilepsy, right? Like absolutely, I was having them like too many times to remember.
mhm,
And they put me on this medication that was like pretty psychoactive, like maybe super paranoid and everything. But I used to be a pothead, no more. But I had this edible that like completely fucked me up. And this whole thing goes against everything I believe because I'm not like I don't believe like weed gives you supernatural. Weed and shrooms give you like let you see into the supernatural. I just
uh,
don't. But in this moment, like I had this cookie, half of it, made the rookie mistake. 2 hours later, didn't kick, took the other half, rookie mistake. Next thing you know, I'm walking up and down Mill Avenue, high as hell, screaming, "We're already dead. The Jews were right. We're already in hell. This is all a personal hell." I'm literally screaming. I'm like screaming, "This is a
Yeah,
personal. This is me off in my mind. Like this is a
yeah,
personal hell." I slept for like 2 days, but ever since then, there's always just been a lingering, even to this very day. Like I'll get and again, my doctors are like, deja vu is actually a pretty normal feeling. It's the communication between the left and right side of your brain. Like information will hit one side and not the other, and it feels like you've already experienced it before, just because part of your brain has.
yeah.
Right. But it's kind of like that Matrix part with the cat. I experience so much deja vu, sometimes really bad that I'll like have panic attacks and I'll like call my mom.
Uh,
I'll be like, "I've been through this entire day before. This is bullshit. I've been through this entire day before. This is bullshit." And it freaks me the hell out. So I've had like situations like that where I feel like this is not real. Even as I was watching the show, when my roommate was walking past, and you guys probably have to clip this out, but I was looking at the background and looking at the tile, and my heart rate started to skip, and I was like, "Oh shit," because I felt that I had experienced this before. Right,
yeah,
so it's something like I struggle with on like a day-to-day basis that, makes me really question everything around me. Like, you'll sometimes see me just, like, touching textures and just doing weird shit when I'm alone,
yeah. Just to make sure you're in
just
that
to make
moment.
sure, like, I'll pinch myself or, like, I'll prick myself just randomly. People think I'm crazy. It's kinda why I stopped biting my nails for a while, but, like, just started doing it again. It's, like, just the
Yeah,
feeling of feeling pain or feeling something, it's just, like, it's just one finger. You'll see me just, like, doing this all day. Yeah, the
yeah. I used
paranoia has
to.
definitely messed me up. I don't know if it's the cookie or the cookie unlocked everything, but I was seeing hella shit. I was losing my absolute mind, and there are so many friends, like, I spent days at their house. I was not right after that.
Yeah, I can only imagine like what the things that were going on in your mind at that
What was
time
going
for
on in
because
my mind, long story short, all of this is we are all in one big personal hell, and people's lives, the bad things that go on happen in people's lives is very personal, and we relive them. Which kind of freaky because in Islam they tell you like when you just you get tortured and then you die and you're reborn and you relive the same thing over and over
yeah.
again as part of like the torture in Islam. So I'm like, have I lived this life before? Is this like my third time around here? Is this my second or third time around this? Right.
You don't think you could have connected um the fact that you were probably in a bad place at that time when you took it to where it
What do you
kind
mean
of
like at a
locked
bad place? Like,
like you said it was really bad like the epilepsy was really bad at that time.
yeah, I was just having a lot of seizures and it's exhausting.
Yeah, yeah. But that doesn't but being stressed out and things like that don't bring that on more? Because I thought that's what I read. Like if you're
Well,
stressed out, it
certain
brings on.
certain people, yeah, like some people it's just the
Okay.
flashing lights. Other people, like mine, is lack of sleep and stress. But we just never found a combination of like medication.
Oh, okay.
Now I haven't had a seizure since like November of 2019. Like that
Okay,
was like
dope.
my last time. But like end of 2018 to like mid 2019 was kind of like the peak worst of it for me. And
Okay. Yeah, I
that's
didn't.
and even now when I'm super stressed, I just don't get seizures. I get super stressed. I'll have like panic attacks, but I'm not having seizures.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you had like if your mind had just linked those two moments together.
No, it might be
Like you.
just a psychological thing. Might be like I might have at the time just like hated my situation, and
Yeah.
but again, you start getting paranoid now. Now
Yeah.
nothing is ever the same. And I've always
Yeah.
wondered. I said maybe I'll take a drag. I quit smoking weed because after every time I smoked weed after that, like even just like ignoring the edibles a little bit, I would just panic attacks again. The
Yeah,
same
my
thoughts,
fiance, same thing.
yeah, same thoughts come back, and just now it's ruined weed for me, so I don't smoke anymore.
Yeah, she hasn't touched it ever since she went
Yeah.
into like a major panic.
I
So
do I do get I don't know if she has, but I do get curious. I'm like, one day maybe I'll just take a hit of somebody's vape pen and see
oh
what
yeah,
happens.
sometimes she's like, I miss it. She
I
says
do
she
miss it.
misses the sleep afterwards.
That's my biggest. I mean, I'll be religious or spiritual. That's my biggest like thing, and it's a shame that Islam's going to hear me say the Jews were right in my panic attack because free Palestine. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just that was I couldn't get the image of you look around every time I smoked and you just look around, and in the back of my mind just getting like flashes. You're like, man, this is not a real place. This is all metaphorical. I don't know why I'm having this conversation right now, Oscar. This is this
What
is giving me a heart rate. Whew. I wonder what my
uh,
watch says my heart rate is. Thank God it's not around. It's probably gonna say your heart rate is up.
I
Whew.
was just gonna say this took an interesting turn from the Liam Collins
Yeah.
uh, situation until I mean on the show I want everybody to be feel free to speak whatever's going on in their mind. I mean, even the motto of the show is ask questions, face your fears. We're asking questions. You're facing something that makes you feel uncomfortable and talking about it right now, you know? So
Whew.
yeah, you take a breath. If you need water, take water.
I'll be all right. But yeah, you see what I mean. No, nothing's ever the same, and
Yeah,
that's
no,
why I went from atheist. There was a point in my life where I was like, "Nah, all of this is bullshit. You guys can go fuck yourself." Now I'm at the point in my life is like, you guys don't know anything of what's actually going on. I
yeah,
said, you guys. Now my brain is like, you guys think you know what's going on. This is not what's going on. Like whatever it is, whatever all this is written down is not what's going on. There's something else going on. It's not this. What it is, I don't know. But by my own process of elimination, I'm like, no, this is not it.
yeah. I mean, I think after something like that happens to you, you have to figure out a way to face it within yourself. Like whether that means if you're feeling some certain way, you study whatever is going on
Mhm,
in your mind. You know, take a deep dive and look into things. Maybe looking into things will kind of put things on a track for you, so
mhm.
that it's not just like kind of bouncing around.
Bouncing around, just
Uh,
letting your brain. That's why I don't like to be alone a lot. Just let your brain bounce around and do
yeah.
the mental gymnastics. It's not fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm driving by myself all day for work. I'm just driving by myself, and I'm constantly calling people just so I have somebody to like
Or
talk
like
to or
listening
something.
to a podcast or something.
Yeah,
Sometimes it just slips through your fingers. Your focus is not there.
yeah,
And again, kind of why I just wanted to get on the show because like wanted to talk to somebody who's different. If I talk to my family, I already know the line of questioning that I'm gonna get from them. I talk to
yeah,
Islam, the same type of questions I'm gonna get from them. Right? Like
yeah,
it's going in circles, going in circles. But I was like, you know what? Let me talk to somebody who's actually seen and like studied like various like different cases and different situations. I said this should be
yeah. And I
fun.
mean, I've interviewed people who have had what they described as being cursed by a family member and then being followed by something dark that kind of made them fall down a dark path in their life,
Hmm.
you know, and then them in one instant becoming closer with God, and now they are Christian and they're happier than they've been than before that moment. I've had people who even crazier situations would be being having an instance with a Bigfoot, so
A
when I'm
Bigfoot.
getting
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
yeah, when I'm getting all these different stories, it kind of allows my mind to be more open to different avenues and different ways of thinking rather than just saying, well, uh, due to Catholicism, this is exactly what you're feeling. This is exactly what you're dealing with. Or with Christianity, I'm not gonna claim to tell somebody something when I don't have the answers.
Exactly.
You know?
And like, let's not sit here and act like we all know what's going on here. Like, you are, and by you, I mean like, people who are like religious leaders and stuff. Like, you guys are also people on this planet, just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Like, the only difference is that you took the time to really like study and you given us your interpretation. That's
Yeah.
literally what I see, like priest, all that. Like, that's literally just you. It doesn't make you any better than anybody else. You just chose to be the doctor of religion, I guess, in your field.
Yeah. Yeah. I always took it as me personally, I always took it as I'm gonna build my relationship with God myself, within myself. Uh, I'll have moments where I just pray and will talk to God as if I'm talking to like a friend or something, like make it more real within myself rather than this like structured, crazy. follow the rules or you're going to hell
That's what I
type
do.
of.
I
Yeah,
talk, and I always say, like, "Whoever's up there." I say, "Whoever's
yeah,
listening." And sometimes I'll
yeah.
just be like, "So what are you doing? Like, what is the end game of this? This is not a good plan." And
Like I said,
I
it's
just talk.
it's a sense of comfort probably.
Yeah.
Like it's just that sense of comfort.
So I just go,
Like
I'm like,
I
"Okay,
dig.
cool."
Yeah, yeah. I dig this conversation though because
Like, what
it's a
is it?
wild avenue to go
And it's
down.
just it drives me insane that knowing I'm just trying to think, and they always say, ineffable plan, you don't know what's going on, it's not for you to know. I'm sorry, that's not good enough.
Yeah,
I need a little convincing, you can't give us the miracles 2, 3,000, 2, 3, 4,000 years ago and nothing since. Like we need a little we need the what's the 2023 version of walking on water? That's what we
yeah,
need to see. That's the we need the 2023 version of turning water into wine. Just to give people a
yeah,
little refresh, because there's 7 billion of us now. You telling me, like, it's nah, it's we need a refresh. We need a
yeah.
refresh of
It has
things.
to
We need to
be.
figure out how it is.
I think for some people, I mean, like probably for you, it would have to be more than just those one-off stories that we get every now and then about somebody experiencing
Right.
a miracle.
Sometimes I don't need the rest of the world to see it. I just need me to see it.
Yeah. I mean, that's how
I
I
don't
am with all the stuff that I'm into here.
and
Like
it just sounds unfair. When we're talking
yeah,
about spirituality and stuff, like, how do we let people, like, be really corrupted so easily when it could be something like you could put people on a good path just by showing them, not out of fear, just show them that something, like, actually exists. Like, you don't have to
yeah,
scare them. You don't have to, have a demon come out the fridge or something. It doesn't have to be that dramatic. Like,
yeah,
so that's my thing, and I hope Liam Collins and that other troop of six, those other six people. I don't know what happened to them, but I hope they find peace because
yeah.
did I ever tell
Wherever
you what
they
happens when the demon wins? Like, do you ever
no,
wonder, like, what
I think
happens?
in some of the like exorcisms that Catholics do, some people have just died. Like the person has died.
Damn,
Um, and that's basically from all that I've studied. That's
they just
when a
don't make
demon
it.
wins. Yeah,
But then what
they don't
happens to the
make it.
soul afterwards? I'd love to sit and talk to somebody else. Like, maybe we maybe one day we go looking through, like, "Hey, hey, Father, come here. We got, like, 3 religious leaders," and we're like, "Yo,
Yeah,
we got these questions for you. You gonna answer them, all 3 of you guys together."
yeah. It'll be a round table of
A
religion.
round table, yeah, yeah, a round table
Yeah,
of religion, and said, "You're not getting paid for this either. Like,
yeah,
you're doing this for this is your charity for the year."
yeah,
But
yeah.
I just
It's a pretty crazy thing to even try to get a grasp of.
you guys have to watch this video. Like, to the people listening, please, please, please go watch the Liam Collins thing, because to take somebody as skeptical as me to, like, actually, re-spark my curiosity, you know, just it's I promise you guys, it's not like Ghost Hunters. Ghost Hunters has to be the sorriest excuse for a show. Nothing happens. I know you know this. Nothing happens on the show. My
Yeah,
family
I mean, I've
loves
done it
that
myself.
channel.
I've
Hmm?
gone ghost hunting myself,
But
and I've spent hours with nothing happening.
yeah, they show up when
Absolutely
they
nothing
want.
happening.
You don't get to. You don't. That's
Yeah,
the kind of the whole point of, like, evil spirit. It's rebellion. They're not going to show up to please
yeah,
you. They're not going to show up because they care about Warner ratings. Like, they don't give a shit.
yeah. No, it's all
Like, just that show is just so horseshit. Nothing ever happens.
yeah,
But
nothing.
it's always when you least expect it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I genuinely don't believe a lot from what I see on the internet. I'm cynical in that aspect of like
Mhm.
it's probably fake. This is definitely like I'm not
Fake
gonna believe
news.
it. Yeah. But like with certain things that I have, like this thing that I have next to me, this little art piece here. Um, this is one thing that I feel like something is connected to. I don't know what, but
What is
I've
it?
had
It looks like a
it,
little demon with wings.
yeah, I found it at a thrift store. It was just an art piece. I thought it was cool because I have a bunch of weird shit, as you can tell. And
Oh yeah, I just noticed it was a clown.
yeah, um, but yeah, I have these little cat toys that light up if you touch them. You have to touch it in order for it to light up. or like
Do you
stomp
have
hard.
cats?
Yeah, I have 2 cats.
Hey, I got 3. Let's see where this what's the spiritual I feel like we've now what's the spiritual connection? What's the deal with cats and, are they evil or not? Do they embody
I don't
evil
think
or not?
they're evil. I think they're just described as animals that can walk between both the living
Okay, I
and
believe that because Tina does some weird shit. Tina's be looking at random so Tina's my first cat. She's the one who lived with me, like, through the seizures, and we did the worst, right? Nassim and Luna, I got them at a better time in life. But, Tina's been with me through the shits, right? And when I tell you this cat to this very day, like, here, will look at random like, will look at the wall and, like, chatter. Like, cats chatter when
okay.
they're looking at birds out the window.
Yeah.
Right? And then she does this thing where she gets on her hindquarters, like she gets on her legs and she'll do this.
Okay.
And she'll just stand up like this on her back legs and do this. But she's not doing it to me. She'll stand around random spots in the house and do it, usually facing walls, staring up the stairs. Like
Yeah.
it's very creepy. Like it's freaked so like it freaks my sister out. Like she's like, "What is
Mm,
this cat doing?" And she'll be like
yeah, maybe.
she'll randomly look like I was sitting next to her and watching TV. She'll get up and she'll stand like the back of the couch, like behind me, and it's like she's sniffing at something. And she'll go, I'm like, but there's nothing there. I'm like, what is behind me that you're trying to sniff at, girl? What are you doing? Yeah, so Tina freaks the hell out of me sometimes. Tina.
Well, I mean, they say they're there to protect also. I mean, have you heard the theory of, like, when they just climb on you and they purr, their purring has a healing effect?
Oh yeah, yeah. The vibration frequency is
Yeah.
like a healing effect.
Yeah, so maybe she's just there to, like, protect you from anything that's
She
if
protected me from
anything.
the other two cats. I'll tell you that much. She's
Yeah.
very possessive. She likes to sleep on top of me on the headboard.
Okay.
So I
Does
wouldn't be
she, like,
surprised, like,
automatically
your
purr when she
theory
does that?
I wouldn't be surprised if your theory has some merit to it. If cats can walk between the planes and
Yeah.
she seems like she's protecting me from, like, other evil spirits. She didn't do a good job back in the day when when I first got her, but she doing seems to be doing a much better job now.
Well, she had to learn.
Yeah, she's so my headboard's like she'll sleep on top and her tail will just, like, flick underneath me, or she'll just stand, or she'll, like, just sit and sleep next to me, and yeah, it's the sniffing behind me that freaks me out.
Yeah, I could
It's
imagine.
like, imagine you're sitting here and she gets up and she's sniffing at just like the middle of the air behind the couch. Because my couch, there's
Yeah.
nothing behind it. It's just my couch and then walk to here.
Yeah.
So she'll get up and she'll sniff behind me and do this like she's trying to touch something that's not there. And it's like always at night. So yeah, very freaky situation, Tina the cat. Maybe one day I'll try to catch it and I'll record it.
Yeah, that would be dope. My cats don't do anything, they're kind of dumb, so they don't do they don't do nothing but break things. So,
That's the same. Luna's the all black one. She just disappears. I have to put a collar on her. But
oh, really? She'll just, like, blend into anything. Yeah, I have an all black cat, Salem, and he will disappear into, like, the couch because we have an all black couch,
oh
so
my
he'll lay there and you won't be able to see
You
him.
did it to yourself. But,
Yeah.
speaking of cats, I actually got very into cats. I feel like this is gonna be the last story before we go. I feel like, I don't know, an
Okay.
hour and 20 minutes seems like a lot. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
how
the
long.
last one was, like, an hour and 30, so
Yeah. So, when I was younger, when I was, like, 16 maybe, right, I shot a cat with a pellet gun, right? I was an asshole, right? I
yeah.
just my dad gave me a pellet gun, I was sitting and I was like, "Ooh, it's all the way on the far away on the wall." Like, I was like, "Let me see if I can hit it," and I hit it, right? It screamed, I freaked out. I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. I can't believe I actually hit this cat." Right? Asshole, I own it. Then about a couple weeks later, not even a couple weeks, maybe like a month later, I'm with my cousins and we're hanging out. And this ginger cat, was hanging out at a farm of theirs, maybe like hella miles away, right? Like like farm of their friends, super miles, like hell miles away. It's at night and they're like, there's this ginger cat, just like the one I fucking shot, with a scar on its face, and it's following me everywhere. I have a panic attack. Oscar, I lose my shit. I start screaming, the cat is punishing me. The
Yeah.
cat is trying to punish me. This is the fucking cat I shot. It's ginger. It's got a scar on its face. It won't leave me alone. And the cat, not angry following me, just following me. And I'm having a panic attack. My cousins are laughing at me. Friends are like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, Kareem? Get your shit together." I said, "No, get that fucking cat away from me." Right? I'm being punished with this cat. And I said, "This is I have to make amends." And then for some reason, ever since then, I've been cat crazy. Ever since then, I'll be like, "No, no, no, I have to look after as many cats as I can to sort of atone for this one cat that
Yeah.
I shot."
Yeah.
And I know it
I
didn't die.
actually,
I know it didn't die, but I
yeah.
freaked out, Oscar.
No, I would have. I had like something similar to that would be. Um, I lived in this ghetto area in California, super ghetto, and
Which part of
there was
town?
this. This was in like
I was born in LA.
Fontana,
Oh, Fontana, okay.
yeah, Bloomington, and there was an abandoned house, and then I remember seeing this dead cat in front of the house, and it for some reason was just missing a patch of hair here, and you can see the
Oh.
skull. And I remember for some reason, I don't know why, I would like mess with this body of it. I could poke at it
Oh.
because I was a weirdo, and this is probably why I have taxidermy now in my place. But um,
Okay.
um, but I remember years later, I started seeing this black cat with a missing patch of fur and just like the skull in the same exact place, and it would just follow along as I was walking down the street, and then stop at a
Yeah,
certain point.
yeah. You interrupted its transition to the other world,
Yeah,
Oscar. You fucked something fucked up. But I'm telling you, that cat I saw, that orange cat, and I asked them like, when did it show up? They're like, a couple days ago. And I was like, you guys already named it? And after that one day, like I was like, I was literally saying like I'm sorry to the cat. I'm like freaking
yeah,
out. The cat is just casually like following me, not meowing or anything, but it's got a serious just following me. And I was like, I can't do this no more. I said, no, no, no. I got to be nice to every living creature. I said, I'm
yeah,
glad you didn't die, but that. And that's why Nassim. Well, not why Nassim is a ginger, but I've just sort of been like drawn to ginger cats.
yeah,
Like I got Tina, she was a tabby, and I feel like me and her were like destined because I went and picked up her brother. It was from a coworker who gave birth, like their cat gave birth. Went to see him a week before. It's like, oh, cool. I'm gonna pick this black and white one. Cool. Came back the next week, black and white one hissing at me. Right. And Tina's like, I guess the runt of the litter, but black and white one hissing at me. All the other cats hissing at me. Tina just sort of sitting there with a stern look on her face. And she's just, and a kitten. I want to tell you, like, kitten, she couldn't
yeah,
have been bigger than my hand. Right. She was tiny. And I was like, to your point earlier, when you just get drawn to something with no explanation,
yeah.
like,
That's exactly what popped
I
into
didn't
my
even
head when you
see her
said
the
that.
week before.
Yeah,
When I went to like look at the other kittens, I didn't even see her the week before. I don't even remember her. And just this kitten sitting there on the thing. I said, you know what? I'm gonna take this gray tabby right here. She got a little something to her. Right? She's the only one who didn't hiss at me today. She's quiet. I said, I'm gonna take her. And Luna, I was rescuing from a friend. She had a love story with Nassim. I was just sort of supposed to watch her, and
yeah,
I guess they fell in love. And I was like, man, I can't break this up. They're out here
yeah,
making out and like sleeping together. I said, I can't break this up. Right? So I kept her. But yeah, I definitely think there are parts in our lives that are meant as like opportunities to repent.
yeah,
Right? I feel like we get presented with chances, and you just have to see the chance, even if it's as simple as walking out of the Circle K carrying 2 bottles of water and looking at the sleeping homeless dude in the corner. He didn't ask you for anything. He didn't approach
yeah,
you, but I will look at him, and then I would just get this strong like yearning. I said, give him that something in the back of my mind is like, give him the second bottle of water you just bought.
yeah,
So then I walk up and I give it to him, like, and I didn't see him coming in. So there'll be like little moments like that where I think in life we get presented with opportunities to like do good, but it's such a strong feeling, like this is a test just from the
yeah,
feeling you get in the back of your head, like in your heart, that little shiver that you get. There are moments in life where I know I can just be like, I'm not donating $1 to Panda Express. I'm not doing it. I'm
yeah,
not. So for your tax break, stop asking me. Right. But there are moments where you just get like random times where you'll just get a strong desire to do something like quote unquote good.
Yeah.
And those are the moments like you cannot pass up.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get those moments all the time.
Right? Like you'll get moments where you're like, I didn't this is a huge inconvenience to me. Why am I doing this?
Yeah,
Why
I've
am I
helped
doing this
people
nice
change
act?
their
Like
tires, like, in the
yeah,
middle of a gas station, like
we had a dude like his car. I had my shoulder was replaced, my knee surgery was just kicking in. Like I was a mess, but this dude's car broke down in the middle of the road and something was like, Kareem, you could just easily drive around him and you and your mom and my mom, my sister were in the car. So you could have easily just driven around him and moved on. Somebody would have gotten him. But
yeah.
I hopped out the car, started pushing, and my shoulder was on fire, Oscar. I have a full shoulder replacement. Like, it was
Yeah.
still fresh when that event happened. Like, I can't I should not have been doing that. But there was this desire, like, "Kareem, get out the car." And this old man was, like, so nice and appreciative, and I was like, "Okay, cool." So,
Yeah.
are we pawns in that situation, or are we being tested? Other,
Yeah.
spiritualities.
Yeah, there are, I think, probably I like to think of it more as tests rather than I'm supposed to do this, rather than it's like, you can do this, it'll be good, but you have the choice either way, whether you want to or not, you know?
Alright, well
But I think that's a good way to, like, kind of wrap around everything.
mhm.
We started in the beginning with people being drawn by a certain force into
Yeah,
the middle
drawn
of the
by
desert.
certain force, we ended by the certain
A
force.
certain force. Yeah.
So, yeah,
So
guys watching, if you get that strong feeling, even if it inconveniences the hell out of you, just go lean into it.
yeah.
You're supposed to do it. There's times where just, you're supposed to aimlessly wander through life. That's normal. And there are times where you will get drawn. Now, either you're going to be a pawn in somebody else's life story, or this is going to be contributing to yours. But just embrace that shit.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to end it. Do you want to let everybody know where they can find you? Where they can find
Oh
the
yeah.
podcast?
So on Instagram, let me see exactly how it's spelled, right? Because it bounces around from platform to platform. On
Alright.
Instagram, it we are Lost in the Desert podcast. On YouTube, I think we're just Lost in the Desert. Yeah, we're just Lost in the Desert pod, right? On
Alright.
YouTube. So just at Lost in the Desert pod on YouTube, Spotify, Lost in the Desert podcast. All right. There
Alright,
we go.
dope.
So yeah, please we drop episodes weekly, typically on Tuesday or Monday. We record on Fridays. Yeah, really appreciate you having me on, Oscar. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, yeah, no, this was a really dope conversation. It went in a bunch of different avenues, but I feel like people can at least take something from this,
Mhm.
and hopefully it's good for them.
Yeah,
But
Liam
I
was just a
appreciate
spark.
you coming on, man. It
Thanks, man. We'll definitely have you on the show sometime. Once we're trying to find like a we still haven't figured out. Maybe there's a conversation for
yeah.
after the show, right? This is between me and you.
All right. Well, to everybody watching, listening, whatever, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Give us those 5-star reviews. If you want to send in your own stories, you can email inducedfearpod@gmail.com, and we can either have you on the show or we can just share a story. But other than that, thank you all for listening. And thank you, Kareem, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
And to everybody, don't forget to ask questions and face your fears. Thanks for joining me and Kareem on this episode of Induced Fear. Bye.